Kevin, what's the difference, if any, between making a downsized contribution 300K or a non-concessional contribution using the bring forward option of 360 following the sale of your home?
It depends what you are.
And this is just for my training. The only difference is if you're over 75 or you're super balance, you'd use the downsizer. Like it's just an entry.
I mean, does the money end up in the same pot? Yes. Is there any difference in the tax outcomes? No. That they both go in tax-free into the money pot. But if you can use the downsize, you prioritise the downsize. The reason being is that it's much harder to qualify for a downsizer than it is a non-concessional. If you use the non-concessional limit and go, I'll put 300 as a non-concessional, and then 6 months later you want to do some more, you can't go, oh, well, I'll do my downsizer now. Downsizers have to be done within 90 days. Versus if you do the downsizer and then 6 months later you want to do more, your non-concessional limit is on top of that. So you can do a $300,000 downsizer and still be eligible to do more non-concessional.
More times than not, if a couple sell a property, and it's in Australia, so everything's $1 billion of property, a lot of the times you might use both for both spouses and get almost $1 million into the super environment.
And I think the other thing about like what's the other advantage is people love recontribution strategies around retirement. They love to, rebalance their taxable and tax-free components to reduce potential future estate tax on their kids if they're going to be beneficiaries. So that can be an opportunity to do that, where you use the down. I think it's a good rule of thumb that you've highlighted. You use the downsizer because it's harder to use or harder to qualify for. Yeah. And then that gives you the flexibility to do other things within the situation where you may want to get that money in super later. You're not triggering that bring forward now.
And for the DIYers out there, you've just got to be so careful. I remember the guy who wrote in, I think in the group last year or the start of the year.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's like, I put the downsizer in, I ticked the wrong box, and it wasn't downsizer, it was the sale of an investment property. Or anyway, it was something like that. But you just can't unpluck
the fund wouldn't change
chicken. The fund doesn't care if you made a mistake on the paperwork, realistically. So good luck.
Yeah, the only thing trying to think of examples, there are lots of times when you can do a downsize, you can't do a non-concessional, like as you said, Glenn, over the age of 75. I suppose if you were under the age of 55, you can't do a downsizer.
But you also can't use the bring forward if you've got over 500K?
No, you can do a bring forward.
What's the one you can't? The carry forward.
Carry forward.
Yep.
Okay, lots of forwards.
There's bringing and carrying.
This is the problem with doing legislation years apart. Like if they roll out both of those things at once, I'm sure they would have used different names.
Yeah, so carry forwards is when you're doing extra concessionals, and yes, you can't do that if you're above 500,000, but the bring forward, which is extra non-concessionals, you can do that above 500. You just can't do it above 1.76 million or something like that, because it pushes you above the 2 mil.
But I also brought that up strategically, wink, not really. There are cases where you might use a bit of everything.
Yep, concessionals, downsizers, bring forwards.
If you're still working and doing a downsizer, I would imagine you'd want to probably use the unused cap before you even entertain downsizer, before you entertain bring forward.
There's definitely strategies and something that we look a lot at, and I think there's a podcast that would have gone out by now around property and selling properties in retirement. Those limits are super key for that, because you might sell an investment property, but you've got some carry forwards to use. But if you put the non-concessional in first, it puts you above 500,000. You then can't use them. So there's definitely, once we're in this territory, there's an order and a sequence.
Yeah, and I think on the timing thing, if there is maybe an inheritance that might walk in the door, you've got a downsizer, you might have to use that downsizer first, because that's your 3-month window after the settlement of the property.
Yep. Yeah, there's time issues there, and if we want to keep on this downsizer fund, you don't have to financially downsize, and you don't have to use the money from the downsize. It's a bit like ceasing a position of employment. I might sell my $1 million house and downsize but I might move into my inherited property that's actually worth $3 million, but I can still go and do a downsizer contribution, or I can go and sell some shares, and that actually funds my downsizer. There's no proof that the downsizer comes from the money from the sale of the house.
Well,
It's got to do with the timing.
Literally sell $1 million house, buy a new house for $2 million, and still put 600
as a couple
into super.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look,
Lots of ways to carve it up.
good luck out there, kids.